This is your number one online educative platform on all issues related to land. And as you already know, this is where we ensure that you get first-hand and verified information on building construction, registration, documentation, and obtaining planning permits. My name is Oiza, and once again, this is the Cable Plus Property Show. Now, one of the reasons why some structures or buildings are not granted planning permits or are eventually destroyed or demolished by the government is lack of adequate setback provided for natural and artificial features. And so my guest in the studio today, Town Planner Abimbola Ononeye, will be shedding more light on this issue and also be educating you on how it affects you as a developer or as a homeowner. My name is Oiza, and this is the Cable Plus Property Show. Come with me. Town Planner Abimbola Peter Ononeye was born on the 16th of July 1956 into the family of late Pa Onoyemi Gulutu and late Mrs. Stella Ononeye in Ijebu-Ode Town, Ogun State. He had his postgraduate diploma in urban and regional planning in 1991, as well as postgraduate diploma in journalism, master's degree in project management in 2006 from the University of Lagos. He joined the service of Lagos State Government in 1985 as a higher technical office planning and retired as a director physical planning in July 2016. He is currently the Chief Executive Officer of Life Projects Limited, a firm of physical planning and project management consultants. Town Planner Abimbola Ononeye is married with children. Okay, so today we'll be talking about setbacks, right-of-way, airspaces, etc. So let's start with the conversation with the words setback and airspaces as it relates to structures. What do they mean according to the planning regulations, and where do we need setbacks and airspaces?
Yeah, thank you very much. In any society, there is standard. And standards are approved values to guide the environment. And for you to have a livable environment, there must be standards that is agreed to by all the people and passed into law. One of such standards is the setback, to ensure that people live conveniently and they build right. Setback, as you say, it means the open space, that space between the property boundary and the building line. And usually, it's the front side of it that is referred to as setback.
Okay.
The spaces by the side, the rear, left-hand side and the rear is called airspaces. The setback, which is in the front, you are allowed to put certain things there. Functional use, like gatehouse, powerhouse. You can even have a swimming pool, provided you leave 3 meters to the building in the front. All those things, technically, they are referred to as temporary use. Ultimately, the setbacks makes it easy for road expansion so that the main building will not be demolished. And what you have today, if you move around Lagos, you find that most of the setbacks are not observed for one reason or the other. As time goes on, we get to why they are not observed. Maybe we can help it out during the course of our discussion.
So setback and right-of-way, are they synonymous? What is the difference between them?
Technically, you might be looking at it from the angle of being similar, because they are asking you to leave a space that you cannot encroach upon. Do you get it? Setback is referring to building frontage. Right of way is referring to space from the middle of the road to the building line. Do you get it now? That is the right of way. It means if you have a major road coming, depending on the type of road, if you find your way, if you have your property by the express, which is a regional road, for instance, before you build, you know, like, let me cite a typical example that will make people to understand, like the Redeemed Church. You see that it offsets from the road for a quite distance. It's not abutting the road like we used to have in the city center. So, and the measurement is taken from the median, the center, to the property boundary.
So just for more clarity, the setback, is it inside the compound and the right of way is maybe perhaps from outside the compound? Is that how it is?
Exactly. The setback is from the property boundary to the building line. That is when you have the setback. And it varies from uses to uses.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. So speaking on uses, what are the natural and artificial features that require a setback, and what is the minimum setback required according to the Lagos State Planning Regulations?
Yeah, well, the word minimum is usually used. You can at least go beyond it if you want to emphasize safety and convenience in your building. But what the standard is saying is you should not go below the minimum meters set aside as not setback now. You are talking about right of way, isn't it?
Setback and right of way, both of them.
Both of them together. Okay. For, you know, there are different uses in planning that are recognized. We have, first of all, shelter for human beings, which is residential. And residential buildings is usually maximum of 4 floors. Sometimes it can go higher. That's special residential, you call it condominium.
Okay.
You are expected to have, if it is residential, you are expected to have from the front of your property boundary to the building line 6 meters for residential. If it is commercial, you are expected to have 9 meters. Are you getting me? You could put more. If it is industrial, because of the articulated vehicles, you know, they're usually longer, you need to leave more space in the front for turning around of the articulated vehicles. You see that? So, in the industry, it is higher. Do you get it? And for the air spaces, in the residential area and all that uses, varies too. For residential, on the left side, on the right side, it's called air spaces, and the rear air spaces, the minimum expected is 3 meters. Except the building is going beyond 4 floors. That is when you will be asked to leave some additional meters in the ranges of 4.5, even up to 6 meters in some cases, so that you can have ample space around the building so that people can use it when there is a need for it. For commercial, it is 9 meters.
Okay, that's the air spaces now.
The setback.
Okay, okay.
For commercial, minimum of 9 meters. For the air spaces, it's 6 meters. Okay. And the rear. Do you get it? The same thing goes for industrial. a minimum of 9 meters, 6 meters, 6 meters, 6 meters for the airspaces. You can do more depending on the activity that is intended in those uses I'm talking about. But the minimum standards are set. These standards are set for conveniences. The setback is not just to make the building look beautiful only. No. It's to enhance functionality. It's to bring about safety. You know, when buildings are choked, there are so many health hazards there. If there is emergency, evacuation becomes difficult. You remember, imagine the unexpected COVID that we had. Our livability was brought into question. Do you get it? Buildings were choked together and we're having problem of transmission of these viruses. But if there are spaces, for instance, if you have a mosquito bite from your neighbor's compound, by the time it's going to fly for a distance of 6 meters that two of you have observed, I think that vector must have been tired of flying to you, talk less of infecting you. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So those things, they are things that very, very valuable, but you can't really quantify it, the importance of setback. And it's also supply the aeration in terms of ventilation, the quality of air that will come into the building if it is standing appropriately, not the ones that are choky like you have around the city. It's absurd. So livability, you know, planning is about health. As a matter of fact, planning developed from health education. The concern for people to live well and meaningfully so that they'll be able to walk, play, and recreate. So planning is about how human beings maintain their physical psyche in sleeping, in playing, in walking. So if those spaces are not there, it will affect us psychologically. And
So,
we end up in the hospital and spend more.
So let's talk about the setback also required for natural features like oceans, you know, water bodies, and how many meters are you expected to stay away from these natural features, okay, before you can develop or to construct?
Yes. You see, natural features, like you rightly mentioned, the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean we have here in Nigeria, in Lagos particularly. We have our lagoon, the normal lagoon, the Osa, we call it Osa. Osa, like the Atlantic Ocean, if you are the shoreline, you are expected to have 150 meters away from it. You know what is happening in Bar Beach now? You have the Atlantic City, Abutin, right in the Atlantic Ocean, not even Abutin. So when you move to the oceanography, the Amado Bello way, you will be thinking of having 150 meters to the shoreline. But the reverse is the case. People have encroached, even up to Bonny Camp, if not Samfield. Lagoons, we all know what the lagoons is, by the marina, by the going to Ekpe, and the Ologe Lagoon in Badagry side, and some part of Badagry, is 150. It's 50 meters from the lagoon. that shows the degree of importance, because Atlantic Ocean is very violent, lagoon is calmer, so it cannot overrun things easily. Then you have the rivers, the normal rivers. You're expected to have things like 50 meters, 25 meters to the rivers. The canals, which is the common features in the cities where we are living. You know, canals are something like water receptacles. They collect water from the environment into the lagoon. Lagoon empties into the Atlantic Ocean. So canal is more or less like the veins of the environment where we live. When the runoff water goes into the canal goes into the lagoon, and the rivers, they now empty into the Atlantic Ocean. So if you build along the path of those natural features without observing the minimum, it's not a guarantee. You see the last flood that happened. You know what happened? Majority of the people on that flood path were wiped out. You see, we have a lot of canals. We have earth canals. Earth canals are those ones that are natural, they are not treated. And people find time to go into it. They build on the part of the rivers. And the government, you know, is overwhelmed with how to solve this problem, because there are so many things calling for money. The canals are two, earth and concrete canals. The concrete canals is not foolproof too. Doesn't mean that you observe this standard, it cannot overflow. It's a function of the volume of rain and the management, how the people are using those facilities, whether natural or artificial. So it could be it could wipe out a whole country. Even the whole of Lagos can sink if proper ecological management is not put into place. So my advice is that we should always advise ourselves and use the consultant to guide where to build, how to build right, so that when disaster comes, the effect will be very, very minimal.
Hi, it's still the Cable Plus Property Show. Let's go on a very short break and we'll be right back.
Cable Plus Property, the hub of professionals in the built environment and the #1 online educative platform on all issues related to land and landed property. At Cable Plus Property, our aim is to ensure that all Nigerians and non-Nigerians have at the tip of your fingers, free of charge, all information on landed matters. We provide you with all information you need to know about land procurement, land documentation and development, planning permit procurement, building construction, and so on. Join us today for free by subscribing to our YouTube channel, like and follow us on our social media platforms, and check us on our website www.cableplusproperty.com. Together, we shall make our environment better. Spend and build right.
Welcome back. It's still the Cable Plus Property Show with Oiza, and Town Planner Abimbola Ononeye is still in the studio with me. We've been talking so far about setbacks, airspaces, right-of-way, etc. So I see that you already mentioned a few of the importance of setback and airspaces to, you know, buildings, but yet to touch on the environment. So I'd like you to expand more on the importance of setback and airspaces, not just to the building but the environment at large. And then what is the implication for developers who do not comply with the required setback and airspaces?
Well, let us take the advantages of setbacks and right-of-way, like you said. In the first instance, I told you that planning emanated from health point of view, because planning is about people, and people interact. They carry out their activities in space. So there is a need to organize all these spaces, either residential, commercial, industrial, agriculture, and what have you. You must have had something like the need for master plan, which is the apex of the function of a town planner. If you have a town and you want to develop it, you must conceive it to a level that it will be useful to the people. And how do you make it useful to the people? You must have sought out their needs. And in their need, you translate it into the existing law in that locality. In this case now, we're talking of existing law in Lagos State. So it is expected from planning point of view that all those buildings we are seeing must have at least meet, if not all the standards we are talking about. For instance, the setback. If you take inventory of all the buildings in Lagos State, if we are lucky, we'll be able to get like 30 to 40% that are setback compliant. That is exonerating the city centers. That is the traditional centers, the core areas like Isaleku, Mushiko, Dimuko, all those, the traditional core areas. We have it in Ikorodu here too. That Ikorodu Talewa side, that marketplace that I went through today. You see, they were not originally like that, so they cannot really apply this setback to it. So setback is important. One, from the point of the end users, it is important for their safety, their healthy living. Third, it makes the maintenance of the building easy. For instance, if the government is planning to carry out an improvement plan on a particular road, maybe the road hitherto before now used to be like ordinary access road and it wants to be upgraded into a real collector road, and they need to expand, you will see that both the end user, which is the occupant of the building, the owner of the building, the government, things become easier for them to arrive at their improvement plan, because the structures that will be demolished on that part will be very minimal, both left and right of the streets, and the government will now pay lesser compensation, and the owner of the property will feel less brunt, unlike what we have today. When you build very close to the road or your property boundary without observing setback, chances are there that your building will be demolished halfway, at least to give way for whatever distance of road that is coming. In some cases, you see some buildings are being chopped up to half the size.
Yeah, and you can see the sitting room from outside.
All that kind of a thing can be averted. But because we are not conversant with the values that are entrenched in living those spaces, we run foul of the law. As a matter of fact, it's just going to be a pity for government to pay you compensation, more so if you are on the red line. The right of way, same for the right of way. Because, you know, city don't develop all at once. Once a right of way has been identified, the government will gazette it. And all these setbacks and observation that we're mentioning about will have been stated. No development area. And you go there and you build. Because cities grow in phases. When there is time to do that road, they will come for it and demolish your building. You remember, I think sometimes last year they were talking about regional road on Lekki Axis. That a lot of the right of way has been encroached upon by land speculators. It could be deliberate, but the fact still remains that government has done its own part. Government has been able to point it out to the people that this is the path that this road is taking, so nobody should go there. If you dare go there, you're your own. Those are the implications. So the importance of all these things is to ensure that we have a standard life of living.
Okay, let's move to the next question. What is an approval order? Let's start from there. Then after that, we'll talk about the minimum setback and airspaces for. You already talked about that of residential and commercial, but we're here to talk on the one for institutional developments like churches, schools, and the likes. So let's start with the first question. What is an approval order?
You see, initially I was trying to draw your attention to the need to prepare a master plan or district plan or local plan.
Yes.
Let's take it from a local plan point of view. If you have a land like it is about from 4 hectares above and you want to design it, you meet a consulting planner. He will design for you according to the terms of the law, enabling law in Lagos State, and putting into consideration too some of your needs. What type of building do you want in there? What caliber of people are you looking for? Medium people or high income people, or you are looking for low income people? You get it? And that will determine the value. So by the time you want to achieve all this brief that you are given by your client, you now manage the design in a way that it will be very functional, and for you to control all those things that you have put on paper for consideration for approval, you must put what we call an approval order to make all those dreams come into reality. Like, this is the width of the road, this is the right of way to the property boundary, this is the property size, this is the type of building that is expected there, the setback allowed. All those things must be specified. Even in the commercial and residential uses, you have to specify where they will use for churches, and all those things will be a composite plan. So approval order per se is like a working guide that give life into the layout design for functional use, and to assist the planning authority to administer planning permit.
I trust that you've learned all that you need to know about setbacks. If you are currently a developer or you have a development under high tension or natural or artificial features, I guess you've learned all that you need to know and what steps you need to take to correct that abnormality. This is a Cable Plus Property Show. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button right below this video, share with friends and family, and head on to our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, and all social media platforms. Follow us at Cable Plus Property. My name is Oiza, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.